Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make this super cute, super simple little bunny pouch necklace. Now, we all know that kids have treasures and you've got to have a special place to hide their treasures, or chocolate. I've got this little bunny pouch and we've got a little sweet hidden inside because, well, just in case we need a sweet. And of course, necklaces make carrying things even funner. So, let's see what materials you need to make your bunny pouch necklace. Now you're going to need a square of blue felt because I'm making a blue bunny, pink for the inside of his ears and his nose, and some white felt for his eyes. You're also going to need some needles. Now I like to use these chenille needles because they've got a really large eye, which makes threading for kids and adults much easier, and a nice sharp point which makes it easier for kids to sew. You're going to use a pin or two. You're going to need some thread. I use ordinary sewing cotton or ordinary sewing thread, but you can use whatever you like. You're also going to need a pin, and I've got this really thick, sharp, pointy needle here, which I use to push two holes in the bunny's felt here so I can thread the ribbon. And I've just used this plastic needle to thread the ribbon, but you can just thread it with whatever you have. And I think, yep, that's about it, except this tool here, which is a hollow punch, which is really perfect if you want to cut out these nice little circles for the eyes. All you do is you get your hollow punch, you put it on your felt, you bang it a couple of times, and you've got this nice little circle. Of course, if you don't have a hollow punch, you can just cut out a circle, whatever shape you like, well, whatever size you like, I should say, and you're ready to begin sewing your little bunny. Now, the first thing you've got to do to make your little bunny pouch necklace is to go to my blog, sewasofty.com, and download the template, okay? So, once you have the template for the bunny, you're going to have to start cutting out your shapes. Now, let's have a look. So here we go. I've got my shapes cut out, the front of the bunny, back of the bunny. You've got his two little pink ears, nose, and eyes, okay? And now we're going to start off with the front arm of the bunny. So let's just take away that. Now, just going to put his nose on and eyes like this, just sort of so we can position where exactly we want everything. Now, this point, if you want, you could glue on the nose. I'm not going to glue on my nose because sometimes if it doesn't dry quick enough when I'm working or showing what I'm doing, it might move. So I've positioned it more or less how I want it. So I'm just going to take away the nose, and now I've got the eyes. Now I've decided to do a little French knot in the middle of my eyes as little pupils, but you can just glue your eyes on or do whatever you want. Now there's a separate video on French knots, so I'm just going to show you more or less putting my needle up in the middle of that little white circle. French knots can be a little bit tricky, but when you get them, they're so much fun. But even at the moment, they don't always work for me. So let's see how we go. I'm just going to get my needle. I'm going to wrap my thread around it twice, once, twice, and then, oh, that didn't work. Let's try again. Once, okay. Once, twice, hold it a bit firmer. And I'm going to more or less put my needle back in the same circle, same little stitch I came up with, or close enough. I want to pull my thread pretty tight so I don't get a loose French knot. I'm holding it very steady with my thumb, and as I pull the thread through, I'm going to slowly pull it, and there we go. First French knot. Then I'm going to just take my needle from the back to the front. I'm not cutting it or starting it again, and I'm getting in the middle again. Okay, now I'm going to put my work down so I can do my wrapping. So remember, once, twice. You could actually do it 3 times if you wanted. The needle goes back more or less in that same little hole you came up with. Remember to hold your thread quite tightly when you do this, and you're going to pull your needle and thread to the back slowly. And that's pretty good. I got 2 little French knots. Now, to To end your French knot, you're going to turn your work around, and you're going to put your needle under this big stitch here. And what you'll find is you've got this loop here. You're going to put the needle through that loop, and what that does is it makes a little knot. Now, just to make sure that it's nice and secure, I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Needle under this stitch here, then needle under this loop here, and pull. There we go. And I'm just going to cut my thread. And let's have a look. There we go. Got 2 little eyes. Now, I'm just going to turn it around so it makes it easy for me to see. I'm putting my nose there. I'm not going to glue it on now, but just so I know, position my nose in the right place. You could glue it on now if you're using a glue gun. And now I'm going to do this little stitch here. So it's a long stitch and 2 little side stitches. Okay, so I'm using black thread, but of course you can use whatever thread you want. So I've just got my nose there. So I'm going to put my thread right at the bottom. Hope you can see what I'm doing. That little point there, that's where I want it. And remember, I haven't glued my nose on, but I'll do that in a moment. So I'm just taking it down, making a long stitch, and then I want a tiny little stitch on the side. So you could do this in 1 go or 2 goes, it doesn't really matter. So there, so I've got my little stitch there. I'm just going to take it to the back. Oops. Okay, now I want to have a similar stitch, so I sort of work out where I think my stitch should be. I want it about there, so I'm going to go from the back to the front. Oops. Let's see, that looks like, nope, that looks like a good place. Okay, and I'm going back into this little middle stitch, middle end of the stitch, long stitch here, and there we go. And I'm to end it, take it to the back, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just put the needle through that stitch. You're going to get a loop, and I'm just going to do that one more time just to make sure it's nice and secure. Here's the loop. I'm going to tie it. And now I'm going to actually glue on the nose finally. So I've just got the nose there. I've got a bit of glue, which I'm just, because I need a little bit of glue, so I hope you can see what I'm doing. I've just got a little bit of glue. Just putting it on the back of the nose. Don't want to put too much on. And very carefully glue it on. Okay, and now just show you're ready to sew the front of your bunny onto the back of the bunny. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pin, like I said, the back, the front and the back together. I've got a little pin here, you can use a little clip. Okay, I'm just turning my bunny around. Now I've got my threaded needle. Like I've told you, I've used ordinary sewing cotton, doubled over and knotted at the end. If you want to see how I thread my needles, I've got a video about that too. Okay, so to sew it, I'm just going to take my needle in between the 2 layers of felt, and that is so that we can hide the little knot. And to make it nice and secure, I'm actually going to do a double stitch, which means I'm going to go forwards and backwards. And then I'm just turning my bunny around and I'm going over that stitch again. And that means, I'll just show you that this is like a double stitch here, which makes it nice and secure. Now I'm just going to do a running stitch all the way around the bunny until I get to the end when I do a double stitch again. Whoops, daisy. So you might want to fasten up the running stitch, or you might just want to see how I do my running stitch. I don't take my sewing to the back. I'm just going to move that pin out of the way, and I'm just going to straighten up the bit of the felt there. And I'm just going to turn my bunny around as I do my work, as I do my stitching. Okay. If you're not sure how to do a running stitch, I also of course have a running stitch tutorial, and if there's anything you're not sure about in this tutorial, then just leave a comment below and I'm happy to answer any questions. Now we're getting, as you can see, that didn't take very long, we're getting quite close to the end. So I'm going to take my needle to the end there, and I've left a little bit of a larger space only so I can do a back stitch here. So I'm doing a back stitch. It's my double stitch again, and I'm going to do a stitch on top of that again. And now to end my thread, I'm going to just put my needle into that last little hole there, and I'm going to take the needle through the 2 layers of felt, and I'm going to just snip it. And as you can see, that hides the felt. Sorry, that hides the thread. So here you have your running stitch, and we're ready to do the next part. Okay, so now we're ready to poke our little holes in the bunny so that we can thread our ribbon through it. So I've got like this thick sharp needle, but you can use whatever you have. I'm sort of going to put the holes just sort of at the side of his ears, so, and not too close to the edge because you don't want to ruin your felt or make it so. Okay, there's our first hole. Pull it right through, and I'm going to do it about there. Okay, again. And what you can also do is, I forgot to do in the last one, but you can just sort of what's it called, like push it around a bit to make sure your hole is nice and big. I'm going to just do it over here again. Okay, so there we go. Now I've got my plastic needle, and I'm just going to see, yeah, they'll go through nicely. And I'm going to thread my ribbon through. If you don't have a plastic needle, you can just sometimes put a little bit of tape at the end and do the same. And I'm going to actually start from the back. Okay. And slowly pull the ribbon through, and then through the other side. Oh, no, missed the back hole. There we go. Okay. There we go. Just going to get the 2 ends together, and I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to wrap the ribbon around my finger, bring the little tails through the loop. There's your nut, and the only thing I've got to do now is glue on my little inside of my ears. So I've got my inside of my bunny ears. I'm going to just turn it around again, and I've got some glue. And just put a little bit of glue on the back. Maybe you don't want too much glue. And I'm going to glue that down. Get my other bunny ear. Glue that down like that, and as you can see, your little bunny pouch necklace is all ready for little treasures or little chocolates or sweets. Hope you liked the video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and see you the next time I do a video.